I died on March 14, 2019, and what Jesus showed me about soulmates will completely change how you see relationships forever. My name is Rachel. I'm 34 years old now, but when this happened, I was 29. I was working as a nurse in Phoenix, pulling double shifts at the hospital. One night, I suddenly collapsed from a brain aneurysm. No warning, no symptoms, just gone. What happened next changed everything. I met Jesus face to face, and he revealed 3 ways God introduces you to your soulmate without you even realizing it. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share will answer questions you've been asking God for years. But before we start, please let me know where you're listening from. It will be nice to feel closer, even if we're physically apart. Also, don't forget to like and comment on what you thought about this near-death experience testimony. Let's have a fair and open discussion so we can learn from each other on this channel. Enjoy listening. So there I was, clinically dead for 11 minutes according to the medical records. But those 11 minutes? That was eternity with Jesus. And I need you to understand something right now before we go any further. This wasn't a dream. This wasn't my imagination running wild from lack of oxygen. This was real. More real than anything I've ever experienced in my physical body. The moment I left my body, I found myself standing in this space that I can only describe as pure light. But it wasn't harsh. It was warm and welcoming. And then I saw him. Jesus. Not the painting version you see in Sunday school. This was the Son of God in all his glory, and the love that radiated from him? I can't even put it into words. It was like being wrapped in peace and power at the same time. He smiled at me and said, "Rachel, I have something to show you. Something my children desperately need to understand." And before I could even process what was happening, he began to reveal these truths about soulmates that I never heard in any sermon, any Christian book, any marriage conference. Nothing. Jesus said to me, "My daughter, you have been praying about this very thing. You have been asking when you will meet the one I have for you. But you do not understand how I work. Let me show you." And then it started. He took me through what I can only describe as spiritual revelations. Like watching a movie, but also living it at the same time. Let me share with you exactly what Jesus revealed to me about the 3 ways God introduces you to your soulmate. Jesus looked at me and said, "Rachel, before I can introduce you to your soulmate, I must first prepare you. Do you know why so many marriages fail? Do you know why so many relationships that started with love end in bitterness?" I shook my head. I didn't know. He continued, "Because people rush into covenant without preparation. They enter into sacred union while carrying wounds from their past. They bring broken pieces of themselves and expect another broken person to make them whole. But that is not how I designed it." Then Jesus showed me something that shook me to my core. He showed me my own heart. And I saw all the places I was still wounded. Childhood trauma I thought I had dealt with. Past relationships I thought I had moved on from. Insecurities I didn't even know were there. Jesus pointed to each one and said, "These must be healed before I bring him to you." Lord, I didn't know. I didn't know I was still carrying all of this. "This is why I make you wait," Jesus said. "Not to punish you. Not because I am withholding good things. But because what I am preparing for you is too precious for you to mishandle." A soulmate is not just about companionship, Rachel. It is about covenant. It is not just about emotions. It is about elevation. It is not just about attraction. It is about assignment. Then he showed me the story of Adam and Eve, but not the way I learned it in church. Jesus took me back to the garden, and I watched as God created Adam. I saw Adam walking with God every single day. He had purpose. He had identity. He had intimate relationship with his Creator. And Adam wasn't lonely. He was alone, yes, but he was fulfilled. Jesus said, "Notice that I did not create Eve because Adam was incomplete. I created Eve because Adam needed a partner for the assignment I had given him." Eve was not meant to fill a void. She was meant to complement what I had already established in Adam. This hit me so hard, because I realized I had been approaching relationships all wrong. I was looking for someone to complete me instead of becoming complete in Christ first. I was searching for someone to fill the emptiness instead of letting God fill me first. Jesus then showed me the parable of the gardener. He said, "No wise gardener plants seeds in unprepared soil. First the ground must be broken. The weeds must be removed. The rocks must be cleared away. Otherwise the seed cannot take root and grow. In the same way, before I plant the seed of covenant love in your life, I must first prepare the soil of your heart." I watched as Jesus showed me people who rushed ahead of God's timing. I saw relationships that looked good on the outside but were built on unstable foundations. I saw marriages that started with passion but ended in pain because neither person was prepared. And Jesus said, "This is what I am protecting you from, Rachel. Every delay you have experienced has been divine protection." He showed me how he was taking me through a season of healing. He was exposing wounds I didn't even know existed. He was teaching me how to be whole in him alone. And he said, "When you no longer need a relationship to feel complete, that is when you are ready to receive one. Because then you will not be looking for someone to fill you. You will be looking for someone to flow with you in the purpose I have called you to." Jesus also revealed to me that before he brings your soulmate, he will deepen your relationship with him. He said, "Many of my children are so focused on finding the one that they neglect the one who already found them. They cry out, 'Lord, where is my husband? Where is my wife?' But they do not spend time in my presence. They are more desperate for human love than they are for divine love. And this is backwards." He showed me how he was calling me deeper into prayer, deeper into his word, deeper into intimacy with him. Because the closer I got to Jesus, the clearer I would see the person he had for me. Jesus said, "When you are close to me, you will recognize the person I send because they will also be close to me." Like attracts like in the kingdom. A person who is on fire for God will attract another person who is on fire for God. Then Jesus showed me the season of waiting. And oh, this part was hard for me to see. Because I had been so frustrated with God's timing. I had been angry that I was still single while everyone around me was getting married. I had been questioning if God even cared about my desire for a spouse. But Jesus said, "Rachel, waiting is not punishment. Waiting is positioning. I do not withhold good things from you. I withhold things that you are not yet ready for. And if you rush ahead of my timing, you will end up in premature relationships that become painful relationships." He showed me women who had settled because they were tired of waiting. Women who married men who looked good on paper but were not God's choice. And I saw the consequences. Not because God was punishing them, but because they had stepped outside of his perfect will. Jesus said, "When you take matters into your own hands, you risk settling for something that is good instead of waiting for what is God ordained. And what I have for you will be worth the wait." I asked Jesus, "But Lord, how do I know if I'm ready? How do I know when the preparation is complete?" He looked at me and said, "You will know because you will stop searching. You will be at peace. You will be walking in your purpose. You will be so fulfilled in me that a relationship becomes a bonus, not a necessity. That is when you are ready." Jesus emphasized to me that preparation is never wasted. Every season I had walked through, every heartbreak I had experienced, every closed door I had faced, it was all part of God preparing me for what he had already prepared for me. The scripture came alive to me in that moment, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. Romans 8 verse 28. Then Jesus transitioned to the second revelation. He said, "Now let me show you how I introduce soulmates. Because my ways are not your ways, and my thoughts are not your thoughts." Suddenly, I was watching the story of Ruth and Boaz unfold before my eyes. But I wasn't just watching it. I was experiencing it. I felt Ruth's grief when her husband died. I felt her uncertainty when she left her homeland. I felt her determination as she followed Naomi to Bethlehem. Jesus said, "Look closely, Rachel." Ruth had no idea that her obedience was leading her straight to her destiny. She thought she was just going to a field to gather leftover grain. She thought she was just trying to survive. But I was orchestrating every single step. I watched as Ruth happened to end up in Boaz's field. And Jesus said, Do you see that phrase? As it turned out, the world calls this coincidence, but my children know this as providence. Ruth's steps were ordered by me. This was not random. This was divine alignment. Then Jesus showed me Isaac and Rebekah. I watched as Abraham's servant prayed at the well. I watched as Rebekah showed up at the exact right moment. Jesus said, "The servant prayed for a sign, and Rebekah fulfilled it perfectly." What looked like chance was actually my hand moving. I was answering prayer before the prayer was even finished. Jesus looked at me intently and said, "Rachel, this is what I need my children to understand. You keep trying to orchestrate your own meetings. You keep trying to manufacture connections. You keep trying to force relationships through your own efforts. But you cannot arrange what I have already arranged." He showed me dating apps. He showed me people frantically searching for love in all the wrong places. He showed me women and men who were exhausted from trying to make something happen. And Jesus said with such compassion, "They are working so hard when all they need to do is trust me. I am the master orchestrator. I set the times and the seasons. I know the end from the beginning." Then Jesus revealed something that brought me to my knees. He said, "Sometimes I have to allow disappointment in your life to redirect you to your destiny. If Ruth had stayed in Moab, she would never have met Boaz. If Joseph had not been betrayed, he would never have been positioned in Egypt. If Paul had not been arrested, he would never have written the epistles that are still changing lives today." I thought about my own disappointments, the relationships that didn't work out, the doors that closed in my face, the times I thought God had forgotten about me. And Jesus said, "I never forgot you, Rachel. I was redirecting you. Every closed door was protecting you from something that was not meant for you. Every disappointment was positioning you for divine appointment." Jesus emphasized this point so strongly. He said, "What you see as setback, I see as setup. What you call delay, I call divine timing. What you experience as rejection, I am using as redirection. Trust me when doors close. Trust me when relationships end. Trust me when things do not work out the way you planned, because I am clearing the path for what I have already planned." Then Jesus showed me something crucial about Ruth that I had never noticed before. He said, "Look at what Ruth was doing when she met Boaz. She was not sitting around waiting. She was not complaining about being single. She was not obsessing over when love would come. She was working. She was serving. She was in motion. She was operating in obedience." Jesus said, "This is the key, Rachel. Divine introductions happen when faith meets obedience. You cannot sit in inactivity and expect me to move in your life. I order your steps, which means you must be stepping. You must be walking in purpose. You must be developing your character. You must be strengthening your faith." He showed me people who were waiting on God but were standing completely still. They were doing nothing to prepare themselves. They were not working on their relationship with God. They were not developing their gifts. They were not serving in their local church. They were just waiting. And Jesus said, "I cannot order steps that are not being taken." Then Jesus revealed the power of positioning. He said, "When you are in the right position spiritually, I will introduce you to the right person naturally. It will not be forced. It will not be strained. It will be effortless because I am the one doing the introducing. But you must be positioned where I can bless you." I asked, "Lord, how do I position myself?" Jesus said, "By pursuing me first. By walking in obedience. By fulfilling the assignment I have given you right now. By being faithful in this season even when it feels lonely." Ruth was focused on taking care of Naomi. She was focused on survival. She was focused on obedience. And while she was busy being faithful, I was busy arranging her future. Jesus showed me that unexpected ways means exactly that, unexpected. He might introduce you to your soulmate through a job change you didn't want, through a church you randomly decided to visit, through a friend of a friend at a gathering you almost didn't attend, through a mission trip, through a coffee shop encounter, through a delayed flight, through a wrong turn that was actually the right turn. He said, I am not limited by human strategies. I do not need dating apps to connect my children. I do not need matchmakers to arrange divine appointments. I simply need you to trust me and stay in motion. Walk in obedience, and I will handle the orchestration. Then Jesus took me to the third and most important revelation. He said, "Now let me show you how to recognize when someone is truly for me." Jesus showed me couples who were together but were far from God. Relationships that looked good but were spiritually dead. Marriages that had love but no purpose. And he said, "This is the greatest deception in modern Christianity. People think that if they have feelings for someone, that person must be from me. But feelings are not confirmation. Fruit is confirmation." Then he took me to the story of Isaac and Rebekah again, but this time he showed me something different. Jesus said, Abraham's servant did not choose Rebekah based on appearance alone. He prayed for a sign. He prayed for divine confirmation. And when Rebekah appeared, she was not just beautiful outwardly. She was beautiful inwardly. She had kindness. She had humility. She had a servant's heart. She was the answer to a prayer. Jesus looked at me and said, "Rachel, a God-ordained soulmate is not someone who satisfies your emotions but starves your spirit. A true soulmate is not just someone you can laugh with. It is someone you can pray with. They are not just a companion in romance. They are a partner in purpose." He showed me what happens when people choose based on chemistry alone. I saw relationships that started hot but burned out quickly. I saw marriages where the couple loved each other but had no spiritual foundation. And Jesus said, attraction can bring two people together, but it is divine purpose that keeps them aligned. Many relationships fail not because of lack of love, but because of lack of purpose. Then Jesus took me back to Adam and Eve. He said, "When I created Eve, I did not just create a wife. I created a helper." She was designed to complement Adam's assignment, not distract him from it. And this is one of the greatest indicators of a God-sent relationship, not just how you feel in their presence, but how much closer you are to me because of their presence. Jesus asked me directly, "Does this person push you into deeper prayer? Do they encourage you in your calling? Do they inspire you to live righteously? Or do they pull you away from my presence? Do they make you compromise your convictions? Do they require you to sin to sustain the relationship?" He showed me relationships where women dimmed their light to make men feel comfortable, where men compromised their standards to keep women interested, where couples were having sex outside of marriage and calling it love. And Jesus said with such sorrow, "If a relationship makes you compromise your faith, if it pulls you away from your convictions, if it requires you to sin to sustain it, it is not from me. I am holy, and I only ordain holy unions." Jesus emphasized this repeatedly. He said, "The world prioritizes chemistry over character, romance over righteousness. But a God-ordained soulmate is not just someone you want. It is someone you need for your purpose to be fulfilled. They are not there to just complete you emotionally. They are there to complement you spiritually." He showed me Mary and Joseph. I watched as Mary received the news that she would give birth to the Savior. I watched Joseph's initial reaction, confusion, hurt, uncertainty. But then I saw him receive revelation from God, and instead of abandoning Mary, he covered her. He protected her. He stayed. Jesus said, "This is what a God-sent partner does. They do not run when your assignment gets hard. They do not abandon you when following me becomes costly. They align with your calling even when they do not fully understand it." Joseph walked by faith, not just by feelings. And this is the mark of a true covenant partner. Then Jesus gave me practical wisdom. He said, "Rachel, let me tell you how to know if someone is your soulmate. If the relationship is pulling you away from me, it is not from me. If you have to compromise your faith to keep them, they are not from me. If you have to silence your convictions to satisfy them, they are not from me. If you feel more distant from me now than before you met them, that is not a divine relationship. That is a distraction." Jesus referenced scripture, "God is not the author of confusion," 1 Corinthians 14 verse 33. He said, "If you are constantly second-guessing the relationship, if you are losing your peace, if you are battling with constant uncertainty, it may not be from me. A true God-ordained connection brings peace, not chaos. It may not be perfect, but it will be purposeful. It may not be easy, but it will be edifying. He showed me Priscilla and Aquila from the New Testament. They were not just husband and wife. They were partners in ministry. They served God together. They taught the word together. They moved in their calling together. Jesus said, "This is what a true kingdom couple looks like." They do not just build a home. They build the kingdom. They do not just raise children. They raise warriors for Christ. They do not just live for themselves. They live for my glory. Then Jesus revealed why the enemy fights God-ordained relationships so fiercely. He said, "The devil does not attack what is insignificant. He attacks what carries destiny." If he can keep you distracted with counterfeits, if he can get you entangled in the wrong relationship, if he can break your heart enough times to make you lose hope, then he can delay your destiny. Because the right relationship at the right time releases kingdom purpose that hell cannot stop. Jesus showed me people who had been caught in toxic relationships for years. People who were entangled with partners who were never meant to be part of their future. And he said, "Just because someone enters your life does not mean they were sent by me. The enemy also sends people who look right but are not right, people who speak the right words but carry the wrong spirit. That is why you must test the fruit." He referenced Matthew 7 verse 16, "By their fruit you will recognize them." Jesus said, "Does this relationship produce peace or confusion? Does it draw you closer to me or further from me? Does it align with your purpose or derail it? These are the questions you must ask." Then Jesus spoke directly to me about my own situation. He said, "Rachel, you have been waiting. You have been believing me for your soulmate. And you have felt discouraged at times. But do not settle for a temporary relationship when I am preparing you for a covenant connection. Do not let loneliness push you into the arms of someone who cannot carry your destiny." Jesus said, "Sometimes I am not delaying your soulmate. I am developing you for them." Ruth had to go through a season of preparation before she met Boaz. Esther had to go through a season of refinement before she was positioned for the king. You are not waiting in vain. You are being positioned for the right one. He emphasized this truth: the right relationship at the wrong time is still the wrong relationship. But when my time arrives, there will be no striving, no chasing, no forcing. It will be divine alignment, a seamless connection, a testimony of my faithfulness. Jesus looked at me with such love and said, "Are you positioned for the right one, Rachel? Are you focused on becoming the person I have called you to be? Are you walking in obedience like Ruth? Are you developing your character like Esther? Because a soulmate is not something you find. It is someone I reveal at an appointed time. And when it happens, it will not just be about love. It will be about purpose. It will not just be about emotions. It will be about elevation. It will not just be a relationship. It will be a partnership ordained by heaven." He ended this revelation with a powerful statement: "A God-ordained soulmate does not just love you. They help you love me even more. They do not pull you from my presence. They push you toward it. They do not compete with your relationship with me. They complement it. And together, you will advance my kingdom in ways you could never do alone." Then Jesus said something I will never forget. He said, "Rachel, when you return to your body, I want you to share this message. I want you to tell my children that I have not forgotten their prayers. I have not abandoned their desires. I am simply preparing them. And when the time is right, I will introduce them to the person I have prepared for them. But they must trust my timing. They must walk in obedience. They must refuse to settle. Because what I have for them is worth the wait." And then everything went white. The next thing I knew, I was gasping for air in a hospital bed. Doctors and nurses were surrounding me. Someone was shouting, "She's back." And I was back. Back in my body. Back in the physical world. But I was forever changed. That was 6 years ago. And I have been walking in what Jesus showed me ever since. I met my husband 2 years after my near-death experience. And everything Jesus said was true. We met in the most unexpected way, at a volunteer event I almost didn't attend. He strengthens my faith every single day. And I know without a doubt that God prepared both of us before He introduced us to each other. If you are reading this and you are believing God for your soulmate, I want to encourage you, trust His timing. Let Him prepare you. Stay in motion and walk in obedience. And know that when God introduces you to the right person, you will recognize them by the fruit they produce in your life. You will know them by how they draw you closer to Jesus, not further away. God has not forgotten you. He is simply preparing you for something greater than you can imagine.